This is something that happened to my best friend about a month ago. She likes to text her boyfriend before going to sleep, so she lies down with her phone in her hand and always falls asleep in the middle of ongoing conversations. On the night in question, she was in her room and lying down comfortably on the bed ready to text her boyfriend. That's when she realized that she had forgotten to close the curtain since she could clearly see the parked cars across the street from her room. She rents a room in an old house, and the windows in these old buildings are installed low-slung. That's why in the modern day, many of these old houses for rent have security bars installed on the windows, and my friend had one of those in her room as well. She felt lazy, and so she began texting away, telling herself that she'll close the curtain after a few texts. There were a couple of exchanges of messages, and then she received a text from an unknown number, and it read, "Can I please call you?" My friend thought that it was probably one of the guys at her work. She's really pretty and gets asked out a lot all the time, so she thought nothing of it. She continued to text her boyfriend, but now she was getting calls from the unknown number. She ignored the calls, and whoever was on the other line gave up only after some 24 tries. My friend fell asleep sometime later, but she had a rude awakening to the sound of her window shattering and a man screaming, "I just needed to hear your voice for 1 second. Was that so much to ask?" The man's hands were all cut up as he desperately tried to detach the security bar from the window frame. My friend screamed and ran out into the hallway. The landlord came out in panic, and so had other renters. By the time the owner was told of the intruder, the psycho texter had already left the premises. Ever since that happening, my friend's been pondering whether she should move out or stay put. It seems like an obvious choice until you actually think about it. If she moves out and rents her own place, then she's always on her own. If she stays in this housing with one other female and 4 additional males living in the same house, there's always someone in the house. But if she does stay in this house, she has to live here knowing that the psycho texter knows exactly where she sleeps. What a terrible dilemma. She's been begging me to help her decide, but the truth is, there is no right answer as long as the psycho's on the loose. I didn't tell her that, but anyone who reads this story will know that's true. I was in junior high and 14 when this happened. I was hanging out with my friends, lost track of time, and ended up going home really late. It was already dark outside, and there were hardly any pedestrians on the streets. I got really scared and began walking as fast as my feet could take me home. 2 blocks away from my apartment, I passed by a dark alley and could hear someone walking out of it, then following me from the rear. I walked even faster and I could hear the follower matching my speed. I see the next block, and that means I'm only a block away from my apartment, but I see a man standing in the corner. Oh my god, don't tell me this is a trap. My heart wants to jump out of my chest because I'm breathing so fast. My legs weaken as I pass the man in the corner, and that's when I can hear the sound of the footsteps behind me doubling. The corner guy is now following me along with the person who came out from the dark alley. Now I'm thinking, the corner guy didn't attack me. That's a good thing. I think this could mean that he's a neighbor or something. We arrive at the apartment and both men follow me into the elevator. I press the button for the 8th floor, the dark alley guy hits the button for the 7th floor, but strangely the corner guy doesn't select any floor. The elevator dings and the door opens on the 7th floor. The dark alley guy hurries out of the elevator as if he's running from something. We go up again, get to the 8th floor, the door opens, I get out, and the corner guy follows me out. Once out the elevator, I turn around and ask the corner guy, "Are you a neighbor?" with my voice trembling in fear. The man says to me, "No, I only followed you up here because of the guy who got off on the 7th floor. I was standing in the corner and I saw you walking up the street. I saw the guy come out of the alleyway and follow you closely. I thought it was a little fishy from the get-go, but I knew for certain that he wanted to harm you once I saw that the guy was holding a knife as the two of you were passing by me. I followed you so he wouldn't hurt you. I thought my presence would be enough to drive him away, but I wasn't so sure anymore when he hopped on the elevator with us. I think we were very lucky tonight. I thanked him, but he didn't leave right away. Instead, he walked me to my apartment and told me to get inside so he could leave with the peace of mind of knowing that I'm safe. I never saw him again after that, but that experience was enough to make me fall in love with him for an entire year. I didn't care for actors or singers. In my mind, the only handsome man was my corner guy. So, Mr. Corner Guy, wherever you are, thank you for saving my life. I love you, my handsome crush. My friends and I went to this supposed haunted house just so we could have some fun. The house is famous among the locals to be extremely haunted, but maybe the ghosts like to scare only the locals because we didn't see anything. We all went home in disappointment, but we sort of forgot about the whole deal after a few days. Some 2 weeks later, my sister calls me and says that she'll be dropping by at 5. She came to drop off some homemade meals for me, and I think we hung out for about an hour before she left. Later that night, I took a shower to get ready for bed, and when I came out of the bathroom, I saw that my sister had texted me. The text read, "Your new roommate doesn't talk much, does she?" I replied, "What roommate, bozo?" To which she responded, "Oh, shut up. I know she's not your girlfriend. I said hi to her in the kitchen, but she didn't even say hi back. She was sitting right next to you while we were talking, and you didn't even introduce her to me, dummy." I was shocked a little, but still skeptical. I asked, "Are you serious? Did you actually see a woman in my house? Stop playing and tell me the truth." My sister took her time before texting back and said, "I don't know what you're on about, but I'm only talking about the girl who was in your house today. If you don't want people to know about her, then you may want to be a little more discreet, moron." I ran out of the house with only my keys and went to my friends that night. I spoke to my sister again after that night, and I was very candid to her about the whole incident. She swore to me that she had really seen the woman. I've gone back home only once in the last 2 months to grab my wallet and some extra clothes. My friends kept me company while at the house, and one of them has seen the woman walk away toward the kitchen right before we left the house. I asked my sister to come with me to the house so she could tell me if she could still see the woman, but she tells me that she's too scared to do so. I've been living like a nomad ever since that night, and I've got no clue when this nightmare will end. I went through a nasty breakup a couple of months back, and I haven't felt right since then. After days of contemplating my current situation, I came to a conclusion that I needed a change of scenery. I took a week off from work and began visiting different parts of the country. It was good for me, and I felt truly rejuvenated. My last stop was a remote town in the countryside, famous for its breathtaking scenery. I was mesmerized by all the beauty I've been missing out, living in the concrete jungle that is Tokyo. I must have been overly mesmerized because by the time I came into town, the last bus had already left. I asked around in town and was told that there are several motels nearby. Actually, they're not really motels. They are just old homes that take in guests during summer and winter when there are lots of visitors in town. The first 3 houses I went to were full, and I was feeling desperate. Luckily though, the last house had one last vacant room. I paid for the room, went inside, and right away the nasty odor smacked my nose pretty hard. But you know, it wasn't like I had any other choice. I lay down and tried to get some rest, but then I saw a hole on the wall. I sprung back up, put my left eye close to the wall, and tried to see what was on the other side. It was dark and I couldn't see much. I figured it's probably another room with someone sleeping in it. I fell asleep after that, but woke up to a very strange sensation. You know how sometimes you just know when someone's watching you? It's this tingling you feel in your spine, or sometimes it feels like someone's tickling the back of your head. I don't know how others feel it, but that's generally how I sense someone watching me. I got up and turned on the light, only to be startled to see an eye on the other side of the hole. The eye disappeared as soon as I turned on the light, and so I ran out the room, then opened the door to the room next to mine where the peeping Tom should be in. I was about to dish out a mean whooping, but to my dismay, the room wasn't a bedroom. It was a tiny storage room, and no one was in there. There's no way in or out aside from the door that I just opened, and I know no one came out of it because I ran out as soon as I saw the eye. If someone ran out that room, I would have seen the person running out, or at the very least would have heard the running footsteps. So where is this person? I spoke to the owner about that, but she refused to even acknowledge what I was saying. She literally waved me off and told me to get out if I didn't like the room. I didn't have much of a choice. It was pitch black outside. I knew this was the last room available in town, and so I stayed. I stuck a crumpled piece of paper in the hole and didn't take my eyes off of it the whole night. I couldn't sleep at all and had the lights on throughout the night. I rushed out as soon as the sun was up and swore I would never go back to that town again. I believe there are things in this world that we are yet to comprehend, and I think my experience was definitely one of those things that are beyond our comprehension. I assume I don't need to say any more to explain how I feel about it, so I'll just leave it at that. Five years ago from today, my wife and I got the best news of our lives when we found out she was pregnant with our first baby. To celebrate, we decided to go on a trip to Busan and enjoy what would be the last trip only the two of us would go. Eugene was 2 months pregnant and we wanted to take it easy. I planned out the whole trip to be as relaxing as possible. Our to-do list included massage, sauna, steam room, and some light sightseeing. The first couple of days we went to popular restaurants and enjoyed some of the best meals we've ever had. The third and fourth day, we mostly stayed at the hotel and enjoyed the spa. I told Eugene that we should spend the next 3 days taking strolls at the beach, ordering room service, and taking full advantage of the spa while we were here, but she felt differently. Apparently, she was sick and tired of relaxing. Eugene wanted to go check out a Buddhist temple. We had to hike a little to get there, and so I asked her if she'd be fine. I knew I was being overly cautious, but still, I couldn't help it. She told me sternly that I needed to stop babying her and that it's actually much healthier for the baby if the mom is active and happy. I agreed and we left for the temple the next day. We took a taxi to the base of the mountain where the temple is located. We had the choice to either continue in the taxi all the way to the temple or we could choose to hike for about an hour. Eugene chose the latter and we began walking. It was a hot day, and for that time at least, we were the only people hiking up the trail. We saw a few people coming back down, but that's about all the people we saw on the way up. About a quarter of the way, we come across an abandoned house that looks really spooky. Eugene wants to check it out, me not so much. But this trip is for Eugene, and I want to indulge in everything she wishes for. Eugene approaches the house and I'm right behind her. We are right in front of the main entrance and I can smell something musty in the air. It really isn't pleasant. Eugene steps inside one of the rooms and I quickly follow her. She walks into the middle of the room and says, "Honey, I think we should get out." And I go, "Oh jeez, is this all it takes to scare you off?" Then Eugene responds with such panic in her voice, "Honey, I can't move. Please, get me out of here." I quickly go up to her, but I'm one step too late. I'm right behind her when she falls in my arms. She wasn't conscious. I immediately called emergency services, then put Eugene in my arms and start walking down the base of the mountain as fast as I can. It took almost an hour for us to get to the hospital, but thankfully, Eugene was okay. The doctor said that it looked to be a mild case of heat stroke and that she should be just fine. I sat down next to Eugene's bed and quickly fell asleep. I must have been exhausted from the running down the mountain with Eugene in my arms. I wake up a few hours later when a nurse enters our room and says, "Looks like you're feeling much better." I see Eugene standing by the window and the nurse straps on the blood pressure monitor on her arm. The nurse steps out after she's done. I wrap my arms around Eugene and ask, "Babe, are you feeling better?" Normally, when I hug her, she would always put her head in my chest and rub her face against it like a baby. But she's different tonight. She just stands motionlessly and it feels like I'm hugging a tree. She behaved the same way in the taxi on their way back to the hotel. She hardly spoke and refused to show any emotions. Or maybe the better way to describe is that she felt nothing. At least that's how I perceived the situation. Things weren't much different when we came back home. I soon became extremely depressed. I just couldn't understand it. We were so happy before she lost consciousness in that house. I've got a good job that pays well. That made it possible for us to plan for children much earlier than most couples. We bought a house in a neighborhood that's perfect to raise our children. Things were great in the bedroom and we were genuinely happy. I tried talking to her about that day in the abandoned house, but she would always say, "There's nothing to talk about," and just walk away. Then about a month thereafter, I come home a bit later than usual at 9 p.m. The house is in complete darkness with all the lights turned off. It's been this way for the past 4 weeks. Eugene's standing by the window as she always has since we came back home, and I remember she did the same in the hospital as well. As depressed as I am, I love this woman and I have to try to get her back. She doesn't react to me coming home, but that's okay. I love her just the same. I turn on the Bluetooth speaker, connect my phone, then begin playing the music that we both love. This is our song, the song that kept us company when we had our first kiss in the car, the same song that I played when I proposed to her, and the song that we danced to on our wedding. She has to react to this. I just know she will. The song continues to play, but Eugene doesn't react. Forget react, she hasn't even moved an inch from the window. I go up to her and say, "Babe, what's happening to you? Please talk to me." Eugene turns around and responds, "I'll be sleeping alone from tonight. It's for the baby. Don't come into the room." She walked away and entered our bedroom. Months went by and I was at work one day when I received a call from my mother-in-law telling me that Eugene began having contractions. I dropped everything and went to the hospital right away. I arrived at the hospital fast enough to witness the birth of my first daughter. I was ecstatic until the baby came out without crying. I remember reading that from somewhere that a newborn not crying is a bad sign. Healthy babies always cry. The thing is though, the baby was fine. She was breathing on her own and was perfectly healthy. She just didn't cry as all. I asked the doctor if it was okay that my daughter didn't cry. I was informed that it's rare, but it does happen. Some babies are just a lot calmer and aware than others. That was 4 years ago, and I'm still together with my wife, although our relationship never recovered. Eugene's been the same dispassionate, distant, and cold person ever since visiting that abandoned house. I haven't been able to turn her around. We've inquired with doctors, we spoke to family counselors, and with my mother-in-law's blessing, Eugene's been seeing a shrink as well. They all tell me that people can change dramatically from traumatic experiences. So in other words, no one really has a clear-cut answer to what's happening to her. I'm okay taking care of Eugene this way for the rest of my life. After all, the accident happened while she was in my care. My mother-in-law is always fearful that I might grow sick of Eugene. It is true that I'm mentally drained and I'm so depressed. I can't remember the last time I smiled. I still love her though, and I do want to take care of her. However, there is one thing that's driving me toward insanity as I mark each day of the calendar. My daughter, she never smiles. She never cries. She never laughs. She never shows any emotions. If it's the shock that Eugene felt, which had changed her to the way she is now, then how is it that my daughter is acting the same way? What the hell happened in that house that has turned my wife and daughter into soulless beings? I try to tell myself that there has to be a realistic explanation to all this, but I keep going back to the possibility that there could be something more sinister to what's happened. Demons, lost souls, fallen angels, whatever people like to call them, I think my wife and daughter's minds and souls have been hijacked by some perverse being or beings. I'm done consulting medical professionals for this matter. Starting from tomorrow, I'll speak to mediums, priests, shamans, and whoever else that could help me get my family back. I only pray that I'm not too late.